Hi, this is Randy, and welcome to this video. Actually be several videos. We're going to work on installing the pfBlocker package onto pfSense. pfBlocker, in my opinion, is probably one of the most useful or things that pfSense can do. That sounds kind of negative, but let me turn that around. It's like I think you could build a career around supporting deployments of pfSense with pfBlocker. It is, in my opinion, it's a top tier tool, and it gives pfSense tremendous value. And you think, well, what is it? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Okay. Just a quick look here at some links we have up in Canvas for week 11. Let me just run through these with you here. This gentleman from Lawrence Systems, he does a lot of videos on pfSense, and this video is on the new version, which is what we're going to be installing, version 3. And the video goes pretty quick, and I wouldn't recommend it first. I would recommend that we do our videos first, but then if you want to just like kind of go through it, he doesn't go through everything that we go through, but he goes through the install and some basic stuff with it. And then he has other videos on the earlier versions of pfBlocker that are also very useful. He's one of my go-to guys for just watching some walkthroughs, and I always learn something from watching his video. His videos will start out with somewhat of an advertisement, and they will end with somewhat of an advertisement. But excellent content, and I've got a link to that to you. The other thing that I want to mention to you is that part of one of the features of pfBlocker, one of the things it can do is it can do IP address filtering based upon geography. And we'll do this, not in this first video, but this is one of the things we're going to do with it. It's called Geo Ip Filtering. And in order to get the database of IP addresses and country associations, you need a free key from this company, MaxMind. This is what they do. They catalog the internet for IPv4 and IPv6 and identify what countries have which IPv4 and IPv6 network IDs. Now, they'll make their database available to you. It's updated all the time, daily, weekly, as needed. And pfSense or pfBlocker running on pfSense will want to go to this database and get updates every so many days. I think I have it mine set to go every 4 days or every 7 days and go look for updates. To access their database, you're going to need to fill out a form, identify who you are, and request a key. And so he talks about why you need to do that here. And then you can click on this link right here, and it'll take you to a form that you fill out where you can request a key. Now, the times I've done this, and for other people who I've done this for, I've never had a problem. There's no cost involved. I've never received any spam. It's just a way for him to put some control, the company. There is a gentleman who is kind of the spokesperson for this company. You'll see him post in the Reddit forum, but it's a way for them to keep control or some management over who's using their database. Okay, so MaxMind. I would encourage you to get started on that. You won't need it for the install, but you'll need it as we continue to work with pfBlockerNG. Okay, this is it's a little bit dated now. It's a year old article that just walks you through this user's experience about how they filled out the form to get their MaxMind key. Okay, and I just linked it because sometimes the forms can be a little bit intimidating. Okay. The next thing that I want to point you to, and this is also pointed to in the Lawrence system videos, is that one of the go-to places, maybe the top of the list of go-to places for support on pfBlockerNG is to go to the Reddit group for it. Okay, you can notice here reddit.com and then pfBlockerNG. You can, again, for a free service, you can register, you can post, you can ask questions. I've used both the Reddit forum and I've also used Netgate, the Netgate forum. Think, well, who's Netgate? Netgate is the parent company of pfSense. So Netgate is the business, and pfSense is one of their product lines. And for pfSense, they have the free open source version, which is what we're using, and now they have a commercial sold version called pfSense Plus. That's pretty new. We have one installation of pfSense Plus here on campus. running on Netgate hardware. And so far, I can't tell any difference. And when they did their announcements, how that they were splitting off pfSense and pfSense Plus, that's what they said. They said initially the two products will look exactly the same, but as we move into the summer months, I'm told from their blog post that we should see some separation, and pfSense Plus will begin to have a little different look and some different configuration options than the free version of just pfSense. So two places to go for support. This is I think the number one go-to place if you're wanting to ask questions on pfBlocker, and then also the Netgate forum. And in both cases, it's a free registration. There are a lot of tutorials available through YouTube and online, like printed tutorials on the earlier version of pfBlocker. pfBlockerNG, the NG just stands for next generation. This version 3 is pretty new. It came out, I believe, in December, and you won't find a lot on it. It's not terribly different than the earlier version, but it's enough different that we're going to do some video walkthroughs with it. Okay, so that's kind of our background about where you go to get support, how you go to get your MaxMind key, and then this video. And he has others. Notice there are other videos here. There's lots of videos. If you search on pfBlockerNG, you'll get a long list of videos here. Okay, very popular product. I'm excited to share this with you, and I hope that you'll approach these videos with kind of a good frame of mind, that you'll be relaxed, ready to learn, that you'll see the value in this. That's the kind of tutorials I want to do with you, is that this is a job skill employable type thing. As I mentioned earlier, I believe you could build a career on deploying pfSense with pfBlocker. I believe you could. It's incredibly useful, and it's incredibly problem solving today. Well, what do you mean? It provides some security, some default security roadblocks or walls that I think everybody should have. I run this here. I run it at home, and I believe it was my first motivation to install pfSense was to get pfBlocker. Also, here at site, I run it, and on our edge firewalls, I run pfBlockerNG, and I'm going to need to turn that off so that that traffic that it's currently blocking will be allowed to pass into your networks. And I've got it on my calendar to do that. But if I miss that, if you install pfBlocker and you install GeoIP and you're not seeing any packets being blocked, then please let me know. That means I didn't disable it on our edge firewall. I need to do that. I need Edge 1 and Edge 2. Actually, all four of our pfSense firewalls have pfBlocker installed and configured, but I only run it on the Edge servers, Edge 1 and Edge 2, until we do these labs. And then in doing these labs, I turn it off on Edge 1, and I turn it on Lab A and Lab G, but not to your virtual environment. No, I turn it on to your ESXi servers in Lab A and to the student computers in Lab G. I still use it to protect those. Okay. I'm over now on my Windows 10 machine. Looks like it's needing an update. I'm going to pause the video and reboot it, and then when I come back, if you want to join me, what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of things. Well, let me just give you my list here. Okay, and what we need to do is we need to check pfSense. We're going to be working with pf1. So we need to check and be sure that pf1 is healthy and happy. And I'm going to do a snapshot of it, and I'm also going to do a backup of it. Very quick, in both cases, very quick. I've already done the snapshot. I'll do the backup with you, and then we'll install the package. So I'm going to pause the video while I reboot my Win 10, and I'll see you just in a minute. All right, I've rebooted Win 10, and I'm back. I noticed my Win 10 is saying it just has 33 days left on its license. I was trying to think if that's going to be the same for you all. So here I'm pf1. pf1 is where we're going to install this. You want to install pfBlocker on. The idea is that you put it between the internet, the hostile world, and your internal network. And so that for us, that's pf1. I'm doing a quick check here, and it tells me that I'm on the latest version. Let's go take a quick look at our packages and see if all of those are up to date. And then also we'll move down to the diagnostics tab. All of those look good. Move down the diagnostics tab, and let's just do a backup. And so there I've got that. Notice that's very quick. I want you to notice too, if you're wondering about this, that the date stamp, there's a date and time stamp every time you do a backup. So I could do the backup like right now, and then I could just do another one, and it would be slightly different. And so you don't have to rename them every time you do a backup. So what I want to do then is let's go into our package manager, and I need to talk to you about the two different versions of pfBlocker. So these are my install packages. I'm guessing we all have the same. I think we should. We go to available packages, and I'm going to search on pfBlocker. There are two versions of pfBlocker, and let's talk a little bit about those. The first is just pfBlocker Next Generation, and then the one down here is referred to as the developer version. And let me just give you a little bit of history here. This one is fairly static. I used to run this up until a few months ago. This was the one I'd run it, but it doesn't receive any attention or updates nearly as often as the developer edition one. Now you think, well, isn't that a given? I would agree, but there is a pretty big gap here. I mean, there's actually a really big gap. So big of a gap that when I was trying to do some work on my home network, the recommendation from the Reddit community and the Netgate community was that I switch to the developer version, that there was a lot more configurations for what I was wanting to do. I also want to mention here to you that these are linked, so you can go to the official website here and it'll talk about it. Okay. You can also go to versioning information on it, and you can take a look at that here. Let's just use this as an example. So here was a post fairly recent last month, February 24th, and then we go to January and December, okay, March. So this was almost a year ago, and so in a year we've just had those number of posts. Let's go take a look then at the developer version, which is version 3, and just a few days ago, and you can see a lot more activity going on here. When you look at the videos and look at what other people are doing, you'll see a mix, but most most help you'll find and most conversations will be done around using the developer version. Think, well, isn't that kind of like beta? Yeah, compared to the non-developer version, I guess I would call it kind of like beta, but I haven't had any trouble with it, and I have appreciated the features that it provides that this earlier version doesn't provide. So let's go ahead and install it. I think we're pretty much familiar with this now. It goes out and pulls the packages down. I paused the video, but that didn't take long at all. I would say it took less than a minute, and we're done. So if we go now look at it, we should have it installed, and we do. Where it shows up is it shows up under the firewall tab under here, pfBlockerNG. Okay. So I'm going to end this video, and this is where we'll pick up next. It's a wizard. It's a very simple, straightforward wizard. I want you to notice this reference here. Over in the Reddit group, you'll notice that this individual, he posts pretty regularly, and he's even answered questions for me. So that's his his online identity, bbcan177. Okay. All right. So I'll wrap up this video, and I'll see you back here. Now again, you could do another snapshot here, and then you could run through the wizard multiple times. But I'll see you in the next video.